MP, it's our final event of the year.
Oh, it's all a bit sad, Bretto, but after 4 big events for 2018, we are going out with a bang with one more wellness base camp, and the location for this one is regional Victoria. The great town of Bendigo awaits.
Oh, and how's this for a lineup, MP? Bendigo will be rocking with the rock star of wellness, Damien Christoph.
The art of self-love angel herself, Kim Morrison, hits the stage.
As will the natural nutritionist, Steph Lowe.
And I'll tell you what, Steph's presentation at the summit on fasting was a showstopper. You'll be there, Bretto. I'll be there too.
And Wendy Stewart from Wendy's Way will be there to share her inspirational story, which really did go off at the Wellness Summit earlier this year.
It's Saturday, October 27 at the beautiful All Seasons Resort Hotel in Bendigo, and tickets are selling fast.
2-for-1 tickets for this one day of inspiration, information and empowerment are available at thewellnessbasecamp.com.
That's right, folks. Get your 2-for-1 tickets at thewellnessbasecamp.com before they run out and then the price goes up.
Finish your year of wellness in style at the Wellness Base Camp in Bendigo, Saturday, October 27.
Tickets at thewellnessbasecamp.com.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is being fearlessly authentic and connected in your mothering.
And I think we emphasise that in terms of being both authentic and connected, because sometimes it can be like, if I need to be this conscious mother, then I need to be of service all the time and I need to make sure that I've got all this spaciousness going on. And, you know, basically all of those things can also mean you're not being authentic if you don't want to do those things.
Totally.
If you don't want to meet your child where they want you to meet them, which might be on the floor playing Lego or, you know, drawing, whatever.
We're coming back to that, Bridget.
But we are.
I'm going to remind you to jump on to nourishingthemother.com.au. I love that you're excited about this topic. So nourishingthemother.com.au and sign up to join our tribe on the front page. So once a week we can shoot you off an email that has links to everything we've put out in the world, and you can pick and choose and just be aware of what's gone out and decide where you'd love to dive a little deeper or do a little more of your own research or implementing of toolkits. So nourishingthemother.com.au, and on the homepage with your email address, join our tribe. We would love to have you.
We would.
So Bridgie,
yes.
Get back on your soapbox. I love it.
Get back on the soapbox. So I guess I've really been feeling into this since I have inadvertently found myself kind of like homeschooling / full-time mothering.
I really like hats off to you.
5-year-old
how you do it.
and 2-year-old, 5.5-year-old, 2-year-old. And so, you know, we've gone from 5 days a week, him at school, to him home.
5 days a week.
All the time.
That's intense.
And he is 100 miles an hour, you know, so he's questions all the time. Mum, what does hypothetical mean? Mum, what does hypothesis mean? You know, whenever I say a word, and like, you know, I'm a little bit verbose. So, you know, I say words and forget that I'm talking to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he's not only wanting to know everything that I'm saying, but he's asking incredible questions, which I love. But it's also like, I also really enjoy being in my own head and body as well, you know? So what this has required of me is to look at both what I see as his needs are, being home with me for the next 4 or 5 months, and also what my needs are in order to fulfill everything that I value, and keep the home running and keep my businesses going and keep me connected to my daughter as well, and, you know, like keep all of my other things that are important in my life going at the same time as ensuring he's getting what he needs. And so it has brought me to moments of fearless authenticity with him.
Tell us about that.
So one of the things that he loves is building Lego, and he can spend like all day on Lego if he could, you know, in between going on the iPad and getting ideas and then spending a couple of hours building something. And one of his ways that he loves to connect is to have me help him find Lego bits. You know, like sift through the Lego.
Yeah.
It's like pulling fucking teeth for me. Because I'm doing this sifting through, thinking about all the other things I could be doing instead of sifting through Lego. But I also know that it's deeply meaningful for him, for me to meet him in that place. So I kind of, you know, like do the whole figure out how long I can be comfortable doing it and do it. But then other times I can feel myself like resisting it. And knowing that our children feel exactly how we feel and get quite confused when we are clearly feeling one thing but saying something else because we think we should. I've really been sitting with that truth, and today, like, I found myself saying, yeah, look, I know you really want me to find a Lego bit, but I really don't want to find Lego bits right now. There's so many things I'd rather do right now than find Lego bits. But I know it's important to you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to sit down and we're going to look for Lego bits, and you can tell me what you need. And at the same time, I'm going to listen to a book that I'm really interested to read. Is that okay? And he's like, yeah, Mum, that's fine. And then I realized, why can't we constantly be looking for ways like this to ensure that everyone's needs can get met? Because it doesn't have to be a sacrifice, to be of service, in the ways that our children are asking us to be of service to them. We can actually find ways to find the joy for everyone and fill our cups at the same time as we're filling theirs. So that was just an example, just, a little one of, making my authenticity okay in terms of not wanting to do what he really wanted me to do, and also finding a way through that that meant that we were both fulfilled.
I love it. I could listen to you tell me those stories all day.
And then at the same time, I've got a 2-year-old who also wants to have her cup filled. So it's finding what she wants to do. And it's not also trampling all over his Lego, and I think about this and I think, fuck, like we devalue mothering, like, as a culture and as a society to no end. And yet what it requires of us in terms of communication skills, negotiation, time management, meeting all of these different needs.
And this constant kind of peeling away of self, isn't it?
Yes. And the level of personal growth that it asks of us to show up. If we are deeply valuing a respectful conscious relationship with our children, what it asks of us to continually step up in the way that we be. Because there is no hiding when we have children at our feet constantly. And though we might want to, and then we have all of the ways in which we can numb if we need to. And I totally notice some days when I'm on my phone way too much, because it's totally like a tapping out way to connect in with what's going on in the world, away from what's going on for me right now. And I'm really bringing awareness to that, because I'm asking myself, what am I sticking here that I'm not making available to myself in this moment? That I'm not opening up to what is already here for me that I think is out there. Because I think when we can bring our whole self into this dynamic that we're in with our children and really call ourselves deeply into it, there is such profound richness in it.
No, I really do.
I thought you were going to say, no, I really don't.
No, I really do. I'm just so lost in every time you're saying something, my mind's darting off going, yeah, and I'm thinking about how that applies to me, which I imagine is what our listeners do too when they listen to our conversation.
And I suppose because I'm really sitting in this, because people are saying to me, oh, you're going to put him into kinder, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. And I'm really sitting with the whole, no, I actually think that life can give him everything he needs. And so what that looks like is me noticing, what is it that he's trying to learn? What is it that he's trying to understand? Where are the building blocks of knowledge, of connection, of all the things that I think that he might be getting if he was in some kind of institutionalized education now? And so, today we were at the beach, and for I think it must have been close to 45 minutes, he had me help him build like a river kind of, thing from almost the top of the beach all the way down to the water. And I thought, gosh, we're learning so many things in this process. We're learning about the tides. We're learning about how, the sand goes from really, really dry to really, really wet, and how difficult it is to mold depending on how the sand feels. We're learning about, angles and directions and, how to move it's just so many things. And I'm thinking, and we're learning about goals. Like you've got a goal to get to there, and we've got to figure out how we're going to structure it that's going to make it work. You know, and I think we so often devalue the natural learning that we can give our children when we trust ourselves and when we trust life and them to give them what they're seeking. And when we lean into that wonder, we fill ourselves up with it too.
It's like Mary Oliver's quote, isn't it? Is leave a little room in your heart for the unimaginable. Or always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder.
Yeah. And how can there be enormous meaning and connection and beauty in the mundane? How do we find our extraordinary in our ordinary? Because if we're not willing to find that, then motherhood's never enough. You know, it's never enough to find joy in motherhood if you cannot look for the extraordinary in the ordinary moments. Because that's the fabric of it.
No, I agree with you. And I think, you know, it's certainly a topic that gets hashed around is, you know, I judge myself for, you know, having my child in care because I think they should be home with me. But when they're home with me, I'm judging all the stuff that I'm not doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I find myself doing that. And so it's that, what do I think that they were going to get that I'm not giving them? And, you know, why do I think that's better? And, you know, all of that stuff, because we need to keep bringing ourselves back to, yes, there's a whole host of choices out there that we can make, but what are we authentically choosing now? Who am I? What do I value? Because there's no point getting caught up in what we think we should do or could do if our life doesn't demonstrate that that's important to us, if our spirit isn't calling that forth for us. And when we keep coming back to what is real for us, we can deepen our authenticity and our sense of connection in how we mother and in the relationship we have with our children.
I think the biggest gift we can give our children is their authenticity. So that they leave our arms and they leave our doors ready to be authentic. Because if they are authentic in who they are, if they have a knowledge and a willingness to follow their authenticity and their happiness, they will work the rest of the shit out.
Totally.
It doesn't matter what grade they get at this subject. It doesn't matter whether they know how to spell or how to do maths.
Yeah.
If they are living in their authentic self and that is enough, they will lead an extraordinary life. So I actually think it is at the crux of everything. And I actually think what's at the crux of them learning their authenticity is us displaying what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's almost nothing worse for me when I think about it of saying something to my child, feeling the complete opposite and letting them learn the message that it's not how you feel that's important. It's not, you know, whether you're, you know, needing something different to that. It's about what you do for another person, how you trample your own needs and desires.
Yeah.
No. Actually, one of my friends popped over today and I'd had a meltdown morning, you know, this morning, and one of my friends walked over and my daughter was standing next to me and she's like, Mum's not really coping with this Reno, is she? And my daughter was like, nope, she's a bit cray-cray. And my friend laughed and she went, yeah, but you know what, Jade? My mum has no lips left because she spent her whole life, and she did this impression of pursed lips, going, I'm fine. And someone would say, are you okay? And she'd go, I'm fine.
Oh, God.
It's all fine.
Oh, gosh.
And she looked at my daughter and she went, and she has no lips left. So kind of don't think that worked so well.
Yeah.
Kind of think maybe it's okay to be a bit loose. And my daughter was like, yeah, I think that's true. I'd rather feel Mum feeling stuff. And I was like,
so
I know.
beautiful.
And I was like, yes, you know, this is the gift of authenticity.
Yeah.
Is not that we, you know, use them to wail on or that we get lost in our own victim story. It's the fact that we can show up wholeheartedly and authentically with right where we're at, and we make that okay.
And that we don't even have to have a solution. Like, you know, the amount of times that I've heard myself say in the last week or two, oh, I'm so fucking angry, you know, and just being okay and just being angry, you know, and giving voice to that. And that they're not even needing to explain it away or, judge it as wrong, or because the more that I do those things, the more that my children are learning, oh, well, that's not okay. I can't express that emotion, and all that one I've got to kind of rein in, and that is not giving them a sense of what it's like to be whole.
And sure, I will sacrifice pieces of myself in order to receive your love.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing, like you today with Lego, I'm willing to, go without, to do without, to be barren and dry. As long as I'm in service to you, I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm happy, right? I'm loved. This is what a good wife does. This is what a good mother does. They give and give and give beyond the capacity they feel, because a conscious parent knows that their child is this angelic little person who is so vulnerable and wide-eyed to the world, and the best thing I can do is just keep serving them, because that's what they deserve, because I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Hands up if that was your story, because that was sure as shit mine. And you end up fragmented and so lost in service. You don't even know who you are anymore, because you have surrendered so many pieces of yourself. I will give this up, and I will give this up, and I will give this up, and I will give this up. Damn it.
If it's the last thing I do.
Yeah. Until you are, behaving in ways you don't like, until you're showing up in ways you don't recognize, until you've forgotten what it is to feel alive and joyous in your body. And if I think about what I want for my children, I don't want them to feel that. I want them to feel alive and vibrant in their body, in their relationship, in their world. I don't want to witness them flaking away and giving up and relinquishing pieces of them in order to perceive that they are okay to be loved.
In order to shape themselves into some kind of chameleon that the next person who they're subordinating to wants them to be.
Right. Like, that is, when I think about that, it's deeply painful to me to witness that in my children.
Because that becomes who they, subordinate to at school. It becomes the bully that kind of runs the show for them. It becomes the
boyfriend.
The boyfriend or the boss.
Yeah.
It just changes form.
So we've got to be willing to do it for ourselves. So when my child says, oh, but I just want more, or I just want to do this, or can you do this, and can you do that, and can you do, and my body is like, I'm hitting an edge. I can't, if I know that I have given them presence, connection, then the fact that they are bored, upset, not happy with something, I've given them the space to provide the best mothering I can. The best thing I can do for them in that moment is not to do it for them, is not to take on those burdens and heal them from ever having to feel my pain. It's actually handing that pain back and saying, yeah, I get that. You're going to learn some great stuff with this feeling. Not that I would say that out loud, but I'm like, just feel the boredom. Boredom's great. Feel it. What's so bad about feeling? Just feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're bored. Bored.
BORED. Yeah. Soak in that.
What are you going to do with that? I don't need to have any answers.
No. But yet, sometimes it'll be like a de-schooling yourself to recognize that you don't need to have all the answers.
You don't need to do it for them.
No.
And when you've had enough and your body is roaring at you to gain a piece of yourself back, that you don't ignore yourself in the way you don't want your children to ignore themselves.
Yeah.
And you recognize that this little person in front of you is a whole soul. They are not this wounded, vulnerable, doe-eyed Bambi. They are, in fact, a whole soul in a little human's body, admittedly, but they are a whole soul. They have everything within them. And they will learn, and the best thing we can do is give them the opportunity to do so. That is conscious parenting, being willing to expand feeling, being willing to hold them in feeling, being willing to let them learn through the journey of feeling and pain, and being willing to own our authentic raw. No, this is my boundary. because I don't want my daughter, saying, sure, smack me around, boyfriend, because I learned a long time ago that my needs are less than yours. That's an extreme example, but I don't want them doing that. Mm-hmm. So when I have my child who's going, one more, and I'm hanging on the edge, either too scared to say no because in my mind it already means something, or I'm not grounded enough to hold the feeling that I know is coming, which is coming anyway, the more I just keep offering another distraction and I keep saying yes and I keep saying yes and I keep saying yes to keep you happy, 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 until we're all completely frenzied and worn out because we're so busy trying to keep this emotion that's trying to erupt under wraps. If we could just let it come out in whatever form it is, we would find that everybody has within them everything they need and they would come back to center. And the best gift we can give them is an authentic, this is me and here's what I need right now. And that's okay. I don't think this means hours of ignoring our children and saying, no, I need to sit in bed and watch TV all day. You go do your own thing. But if we know that we have given them connection and compassion and we have met their needs in numerous ways, it is okay to say, right now, no. And knowing that your no gives them the opportunity to work it out on their own and that is a gift. I just think there is value there as much as there is value in going, okay, so you want this and I need that. How are we going to create the win-win here? Like you did. Yeah. You need Lego. I need me time. How are we going to create the win-win? How can you meld the two? Okay, you need playtime. I need some connection time. Like I did that today. How can I lay out in the sun and you can make mud pies next to me? How can we do both? How can I have a cup of tea and scroll through Instagram if that's what I want to do while you're happily outside just wanting me near you while you play? Like there's so many ways to create a win-win.
I think that it's something that particularly new mothers or women who are preparing to become mothers and currently have a incredibly strong sense of independence and self and are nervous about what that new transition is going to look like. I think it's interesting for us to paint a picture of how that can look with little babies, and with, when you're facing the whole unknown. I think it's funny for us to look back, because I look back at the time with one baby and go, I just got to sleep when they slept. And, it was just so different to having multiple children. Yeah. But it is still, you can only do that when you are valuing your needs just as much as your child's. You can only prioritize the win-win when you see value in that. Yeah, that's true. That's totally true. Which is where the title of our podcast came from, because we knew so deeply that we had to nourish the mother in order to rock the family, right? That we are the barometer, the centre. If we are centred, they will march to the beat of our tune. And if we're not, behaviour and circumstances will arise, just kind of probing and picking at us to explode and come back to centre, come back to authentic. Okay, I can feel something in your body and you're saying something different, but I can't work out what that gap is. So I'll just produce this most perfect behaviour to get you really authentic. Pick. What is that? What is that? Give it to me. I can't work it out. What is it? I feel unsafe. Give it to me. What is it? Yeah. Until we go, raw, this is it. And then we go, fuck, I wish I hadn't done that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's because we didn't do it consciously. So they got what they wanted, which was our authentic self. But maybe not the way we wanted to deliver it. Yeah. Because we didn't listen early enough. And we can choose to do it consciously or we could choose to do it unconsciously. So let's bring it back to babyhood bridge, because I think I went off on a tangent there. So you wanted to talk about how this looks for potentially even the first-time mother who has the young baby. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm really sensitive to that, because I can see it happening for a lot of women around me, instead of in my broader family. And it's one of those things that you're on the cusp of some incredible transformation and life transition, perhaps bigger than you've ever known. but you don't know what it's going to look like yet, who you're going to be on the other side, how your relationship is going to cope with the transition, what your baby's going to sleep like. There's all of these unknowns. How much of your identity you're going to claw back. Are you going to want to be who you were, or are you going to want to transform into something new? There's so many unknowns. And I think to find authenticity in that space of huge transition can be sometimes like trying to tread water or trying to kind of come up for air. And I think it's okay to feel like that, but it's when we lose ourselves, in the process of trying to provide, that we disconnect from what we're truly desiring. And I think it's continually coming back to that question that you so often ask, which is, what is I'm really needing right now? And whether that what you're needing is because you're wanting to escape the reality of what you're facing with a new baby, or whether it is a deep yes from your body and your psyche of what you're needing. Because I think what our answers are, depending on those two options, are going to be different. Because it's like you talk about this idea of, you can go and have your nails done, you can go and have a massage, but if you're not facing what's coming up for you in your dynamic, like you'll go out for that hour and you're going to meet it head on again when you get home.
It's not going to feel like anything.
It's not, and I was saying this to my sister-in-law, because she was like, what does it look like, to get your needs met? Or what does it look like to, ensure that like, you've got your space, even though baby's like 24/7 thing. And, it is meeting the resistance that you have. It's meeting the bone numbing tiredness that you might find yourself in and being willing to crumble in the face of it so you can break through it. And that is the authenticity that we're being asked to ground ourselves in, which calls us to the next level of, in our relationship often too, because I think that first year of parenthood, is so shaping and molding and breaking apart and remaking of a relationship at the same time.
Yeah, it is.
And being aware of where your infatuations are, what needs is your baby now meeting that your relationship isn't having to, and how does that feel for you? How does that feel for your partner? All of these things we're called to look at, I think, when we have a new baby. And I think it's about being willing to value ourselves in that just as much as we're valuing our service.
I often just think, even as I'm listening to you saying that, is how do you stay authentic in the really hard stuff? How do you stay in it? And it is still. And I think it is almost like a mindfulness practice. And for me, it is a practice of the feminine as well, because as we walk through this gateway of motherhood, we have a spiritual awakening. We've been gifted a rite of passage, and regardless of how you enter that rite of passage, you are now gifted it as, I suppose, a gift of the divine goddess. And part of that gift is a deeper insight and understanding of the power that you have within you. And the power of your feminine to feel and to be expressed and to find your power within your expression and your feeling and to be creative in your world in whatever way that looks like. And creative is just creation, right? And we are gifted this, and we're gifted more pain, and we are gifted more feeling, and we can choose to increase our numbing, or we can choose to step into that and open up more of our body and our psyche. And so when I think about this practice, it does feel for me like where are you at right now? And where are you at right now? And where are you at right now? And just almost like, even if it's an every half-hour check-in, what is it that I most need right now? And sometimes that's going to look like a cup of tea and a hot water bottle. And sometimes that's going to look like, I just want to breastfeed my baby lying down and snooze. And sometimes, oh God, do it, because you can only do it for a short time.
You really can.
And sometimes that's going to look like, I just need to get out and have some company.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's going to look like, I really need you to hold the baby so I can just sit in the shower or brush my teeth or, you know, I don't know, rub something into my feet because I haven't touched my feet. I've just walked on them all day.
Yeah.
And I think you can get stuck in, well, you know, that doesn't look like a manicure or pedicure or an out for dinner drinks with the girls, so it's not really time out. And I think we can get stuck in that to refill we have to be without our children, and I think that is a fallacy.
Yeah.
Because I think if we are really truly willing to step into our authenticity that is offered to us through our children and our every moment, that we can choose to be both in service and filling our cup at the same time. Or we can choose to split them off, in which case we're going to end up burnt out.
Yes, exactly.
So I think it's still a constant, how do I become more desirable? First tell me, my darling, what it is that you desire.
Yeah.
And asking yourself, every moment that you feel unsure, what is it that I most need right now? And then being willing to actually act on that. I think it's one thing to hear those whispers and think, oh, I can't do that right now. Oh, I'm not deserving of that. Oh, I shouldn't do that. Oh, my husband's working, my partner's working. I can't just lie around watching Netflix, or I don't know, whatever your story is, right? Is just being able to break down what's in the way of those whispers and build up those whispers to a loud voice where you are roaring authentically. You are in your power because your intuition, your psyche, your soul, your emotions is all aligned. You're not splitting them off. You're not quietening and dampening that voice by not listening to it over and over again. You're willing to literally feel and act on those feelings to fill your cup, knowing that you are in a receptive state. And when you stand still long enough to be filled, you can water the flowers around you. And that is your child, and that is your relationship, and that is who you are as your identity is forming. You don't have to know the goal. You don't have to be in your masculine and know I'm working towards being X like you were on the corporate ladder.
Yes.
You can be in your feminine, discovering and practicing the art of your power, knowing that when you are willing to trust that power and trust the feelings and follow them like a breadcrumb trail, that you will lead yourself to a very powerful place where you have access to more options than you had before or could ever have conceived, because you are in creation. You become creation. And I know that sounds crazy, but you are. You are a manifesting being. And when you're in your feminine, you are literally the whirlwind creating that, right?
Yes.
This is more than the law of attraction. And I think this is part of where we deviate from the feminine, perceiving that it is weaker when in fact it is more powerful. But it requires a deep sense of self-trust to step off into it.
Yeah.
And I think that we can practice this skill while we have a pause in our masculine doing life, while we are in the infancy with our infant.
And I think it's a time unlike any other time you find yourself almost, you know.
It's a bubble of deep self-exploration, and that can be incredibly painful, but also have reverence for how incredible it is.
Yeah, it's actually profound.
Yes.
But it is about being with it, being in it, sinking into it.
Every moment.
Yeah.
And still asking yourself, what is it I need right now? Being over it and in pain, and still asking yourself, what is it that I need right now? What is my deepest self-desiring? What is it that I deeply need and feel so unworthy to ask for? And then asking for that thing.
Yeah.
It's about facing and crushing the beliefs and the glass ceiling that you have known previously. And there is nothing like your child to call you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the power of motherhood. So do that. Be willing to ask yourself over and over, and then stand up for yourself and voice that. Have a voice. We as women have forgotten we have a voice.
Yeah.
We're so used to being silenced that it is our more natural state of being.
God, how heartbreaking.
So fuck that shit.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Sing it.
Well, you can hear more of that. Come join our tribe, nourishingthemother.com.au. Actually, you know where we can do this with you is in our Loathing to Loving program, which we have got coming up as a live round, and 3 times a year. You get lifetime access once you purchase the course, which is 4 modules of content. And then we run 3 live rounds a year to really help you implement and integrate it, because we're evolving. It's never just do something once and you're healed and evolved, particularly if it's a big pain point for you, you will keep running into it. It'll just more form. Yeah. So that's why we're here to create a safe container to really facilitate and walk you through a process to really integrate you and help you gain the insight and the wisdom so that you can really empower your life using the power that you have within you and harnessing the reverence for the dynamics that you find yourself in with your child and your relationship, because they are your biggest barometer.
They really are. So, to connect with you, Jules,
is thepleasurenutritionist.com, and you, Bridge,
suburbansandcastles.com.
And
to connect with us,
nourishingthemother.com.au, and on Instagram, Facebook and Pinterest. So please look us up and send us messages. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, and for the comments and for the emails that we get that just so light us up and just remind us of why we do what we do.
And if you do have a topic that you'd love us to dive into, then by all means shoot us a private message or email, and we would love to have that conversation with you via ourselves.
And remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.